And I know that for example, the UK Vavke of each bracha on the Shemona Esther, according to the Tzvah, had got a particular nukudot, and the nukudot is connected with the sphere. So each bracha has had got a sphere in which the flow comes through. On the other hand, you told us that in Chabad, it's a general Emunah type bracha without having any, any particular, just like when you're saying refuah, you're asking Hashem to give a refuah to not anybody in particular, but just a general refuah bracha. So how do you resolve the contradiction between the two ways of looking at it?
No. I think you misunderstood. I didn't address Shemona Esrei at all. I didn't address Shemona Esrei at all. What I said is that there's the bracha klolis and the bracha pratis. There's the general blessing and there's the specific, individualized blessing. The Tzemach Tzedek in Derech Mitzasecha in Mitzvah Sherish Mitzvah Tefillah, which probably you learned or looked at, he quotes the early philosophers, Jewish philosophers, where they say, "L'das zeh tinuk," that I pray to Hashem like a child prays to God. How does a child pray to God? It says Hashem looks up towards heaven and says, Hashem, help me. He doesn't know about this sphere, he doesn't know about this level, he just talks to God directly. So what I said yesterday was that all the rules and regulations, let's say what you're identifying, what Yonason is speaking about is the particular blessings that have in Shemona Esrei different nekudas. If you take a siddur of Kabbalah, have you ever opened up a siddur that's a Rashash, and other Siddurim, you will see Nekudot on the Shem Hashem for each bracha, and it's different per bracha. So that's what Yonis is referring to. And depending on what yichud, what unification of God's name is created in that particular Baruch Ato Hashem, it's associated with health, wealth, long life, tshuva, on and on and on. So there's something very, very specific going on. So first of all, in the Chabad Siddur, the Alter Rebbe specifically took that out. Right? Why did he take it out? Not that he doesn't hold that it's holy and important, but the Alter Rebbe created a Siddur that's Shava L'chol Nefesh, that's equal for everyone. So even a person who's not what Shara Koilo, right? It's called Shara Koilo, the gate that includes everything, right? But so that's as far as the Alter Rebbe and his nusach. But even those that do use that nusach, and they know the kavanot pratiyut, they know the particular intentions of the Yud Kei Vav Kei per particular blessing. Right. All that is a system that's individualized for the particular, your bracha that you're looking for, that you're grappling with, that you want, etc. There is, what I said yesterday, there is something that goes right to the heart that transcends all of that, and that is the tinuk ani mispalel. So it's two separate things. It's not a contradiction. And normally, this is not more of an explanation. Normally, when you daven, when you say Hashem tshuva, you're referring to tshuva, and slach lanu is slicha, and baruch aleinu is parnasa, right? Those are the right. But what if someone doesn't know the meaning of the words, doesn't know no kavanos? He just knows one thing: God, help me! I need help. Whatever, and he means it seriously. If he really means it, he can break through and get whatever he needs because he goes right to the essence. Let me just turn on the air conditioner. Hold on a second. Okay, let's continue the Maamar because we do have to finish by next Thursday. I want to finish the Maamar, so let's go. We're on page 2. Where are we here?
I think we're on 211 at the
211,
bottom.
yeah.
At the bottom.
Yeah, okay. So he says, V'zehu, with the last 5 words on the page. The Chol Echad V'Echad B'Yisrael, the Chol Echad B'Yisrael, every single Jew, Omer says, top of 212. We say this every morning in the preliminaries, before davening, the brachas. Neshama Sherasata Bi. The neshama that you've given me, Tahora Hi, it is tahor, it is pure. The tahora Hi, Miles, Madreges, HaNeshama K'Mashi Batzilus. Neshama Shenasata Bi Moshe Tahora Hi, Ata Barasa, Ata Yotzarta, right? Ata Vachta Bi. So Chassidus explains, Ata Barasa is the world of Bria, of creation. Ata Yotzarta is the world of formation, the third of the four worlds. Ata Vachta Bi is the fourth world, Asiya. Right? And what's the first one? Tahoirahi. Says the Rebbe, Tahoirahi is the level of the neshama, the way the neshama is in Atzilus. Purity, Tahara, is Atzilus. Why? It's pure of any definition. Yaakov, as soon as you have a definition, you have a limitation. As soon as you have a definition, you have a qualification. As soon as you have a definition, there are rules and regulations. Are you pure enough? Are you kosher enough? Did you go to the mikveh? How many times? When did you go? At night or in the morning? And all the halachas that follow. That's all the realm of Torah Yoni that already identifies with us and the world as we are a limitation, a creation. There is velvel, a part of the neshama that transcends all that. That's called tahoirahi. It's tahor. Next line. Umisham nasa v'yardo. And it's from there, from that perspective of the neshama, that it traveled and it descended lislabish because the nefesh habamis to invest itself in a body in the nefesh habamis. So what we're learning is an amazing thought, that this neshama that Hashem gave us, each yid, it comes from tahira here. Every single Jew has an neshama that's tahira he, and it starts traveling. And this is where it gets murky. Where does it end up going to? Chicago, New York, Germany, Eretz Yisrael? Where does it end up going? And depending on where it gets to, that's the experience that we experience on normally. So if the neshama that's tahira reaches bria, which is haschalat, the beginning of creation, yesh mi'ayin, less yesh is there and more ayin, although yesh, the idea of yesh, of existence, already was created, but it wasn't formed yet, the neshama still feels more of its tahirahi. When it goes to one level further, to yitzarta, it's more of a form, so it feels less of its tahira. When it gets to the last level of asiya, world of asiya, it feels less. And so it's like those stops make a difference in the expression of the neshama. But we all have the tahirahi. And that's why a yid can do tshuva in the greatest way, instantaneously, because he always has the neshama tahira. If the neshama tahira would not be invested in the person, then how could you access it to do tshuva? And it would be not fair. We would have a taina kaviyochel. We would have an argument and a complaint to God. Hashem, you want me to do tshuva? I want to do tshuva for everything, and I don't have that spark that gets me to break out from all limitations. I can break out a little, but I can't break out completely because I was never given that ability. So that's why Chassidus says, Kabbalah says, you do have it. Because the Neshama Tahira, he belongs to us. Now imagine, this Yerida, this descent of the Neshama Tahira coming into the levels of Bria, Yetzir, Asiya, it is a long trip with wearing a mask and suffocating and not getting proper food and being crushed by little seats and narrow seats. So this is a Yerida. Look at the Gedoyla, Yerida Gedoyla. It's a big Yerida, Va'atzuma. The Neshama, as it was before Moshe, before it descended, to invest itself in a body in the Nefesh Habamis. My mother, he began El Yid. Oh boy, it was a king in supernal paradise. It was living it up with Hashem and the Shamas and Gan Eden. It was a real holy party. You read this lemata, and then all of a sudden it descends below. L'slabish beguf, harei yerida mi'igra rama lebira mikta. A very famous quote brought in Chassidus. It's a descent mi'igra rama, from a very tall mountain, lebira mikta, to a very low valley. And you'll notice it doesn't say mi'igra lebira, Yaakov. It says mi'igra rama. Not just is it an Igra, but it's Rama, it's way exalted, the peak of a mountain. And Velvel, where does it go down? It goes down, Lebida, to a valley, Amikta, that's very deep down in the earth. So it's, as we say in English, it's one whammy atop of another whammy. So why does Hashem do it? Says the Rebbe that Hashem did it because this Yerida, this is so famous in Chabad language and philosophy, Yerida Zul Tzayre Chariya. The Yerida is for the purpose of Aliyah. You all know that song. Neshama, Haneshama Yeredes L'toich Haguf. Haneshama Yeredes Right, that's the sad part. Then comes the up part. Still, no, this is still the cry. Vai, 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 vai. So it's terrible. Here comes the answer. Yerida zu tzorich aliyah at shekol zeh kedai. This descent is for the purpose for ascent. At shekol zeh, that it's all worth it. And then the last segment of the song is Yerida zu tzorich aliyah. Your voice has to go all the way up. At shekol zehi kedai. Chassidim used to sing this again. Haneshama yoredes l'toich haguf. Haneshama yoredes l'toich haguf. Ay 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 vay vay. Ay 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 vay vay vay. Yerida zu tzorich aliyah at shekol zehi kedai. Yerida zu tzorich aliyah at shekol zehi kedai. Imagine waking up and singing every day this song before Shachris. You're going to have a Shachris that you never had before. Anyway, so those are the words. Hariyerida zu hulitzayre chaliyah. Tayidei she'odem meisik b'teiro mitzvahs. When a Yid learns Torah and does mitzvahs, hinayidei ze nasa aliyas haneshama l'maylo madrege yoser. the neshama gets something and goes somewhere, Yaini, it wasn't there before. So here's an interesting point. Tahirahi, as pure as it is and as great as it is, it's still one of the four worlds, right? Atzilus, Bria, Yetzir, Asiya, Dalit, Olamos, four worlds. So yes, Olamo Atzilus, the world of closeness, is in a way separate, right, from the three worlds, Yonasin. Nevertheless, it's still called Olam HaAtzilus. You remember this idea in Chassidus? Why is it still called Olam HaAtzilus? Because there's still an association between Atzilus and Olam. What'd you say? Yeah, there's still some Helam. So that's why it says here, when you learn Torah and do mitzvahs on earth, you cause an aliyah of the neshama l'maylo madrega yosef, that it goes even beyond Atzilus. Omnam yirida zu masha neshama yidas l'matas labish guf devash habamis. This descent nikras b'shein golos Mitzrayim. This is what we call. Remember, Chevra, what are we looking at in this chapter? What is the spiritual counterpart of Golus? Go out to the street, wherever you are, Chicago, Eretz Yisrael, Bet Shemesh, Brooklyn, and go tell someone on the street who's going now to daven. Everybody else, it's the morning now, right? And tell him, you know what Golus Mitzrayim is? That the fact that your neshama your neshama came into a body. If you didn't learn in Chabad, they look at you like you're a wacko. But for a Chabad Bacher from the age of 17, 18, 19, this is common. It's like bread and butter eating Cheerios every morning. That's what the Rebbe says. This Yerida of the Neshama to the Guf of Nefesh HaBamish, this is called Golus Mitzrayim. This is the real Golus. The Golus Mitzrayim that we experienced thousands of years ago, sure was real Golus at the time, but then we left. So what's the and yet we every year we have Pesach, we have Parshas Boy, excuse me, Shmois, Vayda Boy. We have all the Parshas talking about the Golus. So what is the Golus today? This is the Golus. The Yeridas HaNeshama Lamata. Yaakov. So when you talk to your friends and you meet people in other shuls, in other communities, bring this idea up to them. What is Golus Mitzrayim? Yeridas HaNeshama Beguf, and that's a daily thing. And this is what Chabad Chassidim used to daven with and cry about, and then come to elation that they felt the golus, they felt the pain, they felt the yerida. And mind you, that's outside of the oppression of Stalin and Russia and the Holocaust and everything else. And the Arabs. It's the individual. You could be in the best place in the world, in the best time in the world, with all the greatness. The neshama is still farshklaft. In Yiddish, the word for slavery is farshklaft, imprisoned. Let's continue. The Mitzrayim Uloshin Meitzer Ukvul. What does it mean? Because Mitzrayim has a meaning. What does the word mean, Yoni? It comes from the word Meitzar, narrow. Ukvul, unlimited. Just as during the exile of Egypt. We were what? We were pressured, lachutz, udachuk, pressured and pushed and made narrow and uncomfortable from the Egyptians. So too, Golus Mitzrayim Berucht is the spiritual idea of Golus Mitzrayim. Masha nefesh abamis, the fact that the animal drive, magbilu mastir al nefesh elikis, limits and conceals the godly soul. Da nefesh elikis mislabish ba nefesh asichli. How is it that the Nefesh Abamis conceals the Nefesh Elikis? Because the Nefesh Elikis, the godly soul, first, it works its way into what we call the intelligent soul and the natural soul. Because it wants to refine the human mind to be a godly mind. But then the Nefesh Abamis surrounds the Nefesh Holikis. He's using, space and time to describe the Golus. But really, these ideas they transcend space and time. It's metaphysical, right? But let's keep in intact what he says. So the nefesh abamis, it surrounds the nefesh elikis. You ain't getting out of here. You're in my territory. I close the doors and shut the jail and shut the doors when I want, not when you want. So you nefesh elikis, you can try to work on the nefesh hasichlis, the human intelligent soul, to be more godly, but I'm surrounding you. You ain't getting out. And I bring 1 second. You only 1 second. And I bring along my shtick. Let me just finish and I'll take your question. And what does this cause to the nefesh elikis? A tremendous tzimtzum. A tremendous uncomfortable situation and contraction. It shrivels up the nefesh elikis. It doesn't have room to wiggle, to maneuver, to dominate, to say an opinion. Sounds familiar, right? Sometimes it's the spouse, sometimes it's the rabbi, sometimes it's the employer, sometimes it's the children, the teenagers. You have no room to wiggle. You have no room. I always say in the house here, over the years, you are not going to censor me in my own house. I have enough people censor me outside. But in my own house, you ain't censoring me. It's my house. Well, the Nefesh Abamis censors us. And it says, I'm going to tell you what to say and not to say. And if you don't like it, you have no choice, because I'm surrounding you. And the Rebbe says, it becomes minor, insignificant, concealed. Like I told you, one of my friends would always say, when's the last time you had a relationship with a Nefesh Elikis? Every day, it's about Nefesh Abamis, eating, sleeping, drinking, gaiva, and honor and pride and everything else. When's the last time you could say, I had a relationship with my Nefesh Elikis? The last time I had a conversation with my Nefesh Elikis. And this is analogous to someone who sits in Golus and in captivity. He shrivels up, he's put into a narrow corner, and he can't, sorry. You're in solitary confinement, and I have the key, and you ain't getting out. Yes, Yoni, it's your turn.
So, basically, when you were talking about where the Nefesh Bahamis is saying, this is my territory, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of like taking over, like a turf war. It's kind of like a turf war. And I asked you this, I think, a few years ago, but now that it came up again, where does the Yetzer Hara come in here? Like, there's got to be a place somewhere for the Yetzer Hara as well, no? Or just the Nefesh Bahamis? Yeah,
well, again, look, you're accustomed from your training in yeshiva to use the word Yetzer Hara. Chassidus uses the word Nefesh Habamis. So what you mean Yetzer Hara, we're calling Nefesh Habamis. Again, there's a difference. We learned in this Maamar and other Maimorim. But so whether we call it Yetzer Hara or we call it Nefesh Habamis, and there's a major difference. Yes, this isn't just semantics, okay? But I'm not going to go again over that. So where does that come in? We just said where it comes in. That we're in Golus because the Yetzer Hara, the Nefesh Abamis, controls it. So if I take away, Yoni, the word Nefesh Abamis and I substitute it with Yetzer Hara, you understand?
Totally.
Okay, so Yoni, what Chassidus Chabad, what the Alter Rebbe, this starts with the Alter Rebbe. He sees it that it's the Yetzer Hara is already result. It's a Yetzer, it's an inclination of bad. I lean towards bad, right? But what drives you to come there? That's called Nefesh Abamis. So there's the drive and there's the application of the drive. The Yetzer Hara is the application. So if you understand that the Yetzer Hara puts us in Golus, doesn't let us get out, you understand what he's saying here. Same thing. So let's continue a few more lines. This is the meaning, going back to the Pasuk in, I think, Yeshaya, the souls I have made, Shem Beis Nefoshes, this refers to two souls. Nefesh mitzad haklipa nikra nefesh abami. The nefesh from the perspective of the husk and shell called klipa is what we call the animal drive. Nefesh hasheni, and the second nefesh nikra nefesh ha'adam is called the human nefesh. Ukeshem the yisrain ha'adam ala chai hu b'sichloi, just as the advantage of a human over an animal consists of his intelligence, ukamaimer, and as the saying is, Adam yesh lo das, a human has das, Yaakov, behema ein lo das. The Bali has no das. The Bali Chayim, animals, hari ikorum, their primary mode of operation, who midos, it is their midos, their character. The nesher hu rachmani. A nesher is a rachmani. No, what's a nesher? An eagle. An eagle is merciful. V'oirev, and a raven, achzori, is cruel. In other words, the way they hunt their food and deal with other birds, the nesher does it with mercy, and the oirev and the raven does it with cruelty. What do we see? That the primary velvel, the primary mode of an animal and birds of that species, the living species, are all determined by their midos, by their emotions and character. The chol hadas yesh lehem, and all knowledge, intelligence that they have, it's only about their physical needs, ba'achila, eating, ushtia, drinking, ushar tzarech yaguf, and all the other bodily needs. So in other words, Moshe, they need to live, they need food. So because they need food, they're going to use a little amount of intelligence, of seichel, to justify getting the food. But it begins with the food. It begins with the midah. It begins with survival mode. But the human being, his primary mode of operation is intelligence and wisdom. And even the necessary bodily needs that man needs for existence, go through wisdom and seichel. We're talking about a normal, logical person, not a person who's in addictive mode. That's a really different discussion. That means that at that time they're not being human. The state of addiction is not a state of humanity. Yes, Yaakov.
You were just mentioning, this. So we have a Gemara that says we learn sneeze from a cat, and we learn other midas from other animals. How does that fit in?
No, you just the Gemara is supporting what the Rebbe is saying, that the ikar of the cat is midas. So if you want to learn about midas, look at a cat. That's what he's saying. That the ikar of an animal is midas, and the ikar of a human is seichel. So I don't see why you bring that Gemara. Seems to be an exact support to what it says here. How do you see this as a contradiction?
I didn't.
I didn't understand. I thought you were asking as a stira. No, exactly. No. Yeah, thank you. Of course. Okay.
I'm not always arguing.
What?
I'm not always arguing.
I do not perceive and look at you that way. I look at you as a Talmud Chacham who raises an issue in Torah to discuss and understand. And I really mean that. Maybe no one has said it to you before, but I'm going to say it, and I said it in public. And it's not just about you. The whole idea of humans and humanity and people, if we were to be less defensive and more open to exchange, you could disagree. And I always repeat what the Rebbe said, and I heard it with my own 2 eyes out of Fabrengen, 2 ears out of Fabrengen. The Rebbe said, Chilukei Deos, difference of opinion, is healthy. Machloikis is very unhealthy. And it's a Gemara in Brachos. Ein dayaseim domos, shavas. No two people are alike, and that's the richness of life, that we can have different opinions. Look, from the Gemara, Rav and Shmuel, right? Everyone's always disagreeing with each other, but then comes a system that was developed to say, in what's it called, in Mamonos, in matters of money, we follow, I think it's is it Rav or Shmuel? I don't remember, maybe Shmuel. One of the two who was an expert in that field. When it comes to Isurim, to forbidden issues, Isurim, we follow the other one. What's the pshat? They first had a disagreement, and they both had Talmidim, and they both disagreed with each other in halacha, in pshat, in halacha. Then the halacha says, well, how are we going to make a ruling here? We got to bring some resolve to the situation. The answer is, who is the greater expert in that field? And by the way, if you pay attention to many of the Rebbe's answers, listen to this, Chevra. The Rebbe would say, we have Velvel, a doctor here. The Rebbe would say, go to doctors who are friends and mevinim and experts. He wouldn't always say the same thing, but many times. There is a friend. It's very important. And there's a maven. He might not be a friend, but he's a maven in that field. And so what I'm saying is that the chilukei deos is a healthy thing. We're not puppets here. Anyway, the point, and we conclude with this, the point is that Rebbe is saying here that the nefesh elikis, a person primarily, what's his specialty? Seichel, intelligence. That is the core essence of a human, of humanity. What is the core essence of the animal world? Midas, emotions. And when you understand that, Yoini, when you think about this idea, all of a sudden, nefesh elikis and nefesh abamis are no longer spiritual ideas, souls, drives. It becomes very real. Am I dominated by my emotions, or am I dominated by my mind? Or at times, when I'm dominated by my emotions, I'm acting more like an animal, and when I'm dominated at the times by my mind, I'm acting more like a human. Now, we shouldn't walk away saying, well, if so, let me be a cold intellectual. No. The whole idea of humanity is to be expressive and to be passionate about your beliefs and your seichel. You see? It's not to avoid seichel, it's that seichel should harness and govern the midos in a healthy way, so that when the midah comes about, it's a healthy midah. It's an intellectualized midah that has in it normalcy, balance, looking for not the self-gratification, but the connection to the higher power. And this is true lahavdil for non-Jews too. This idea, by the way, is not only for Yidden. For a Jew that has an neshama, it's on a whole different plane. But any human being, this concept of seichel over and midas that we discussed now is important. And it's an eye-opener. When you meet a non-Jew on a plane or in a store, and you talk about this idea, you'd be surprised how you could, really bring some real special spirituality that's not adulterated and ridiculous, and that will cause and help that human being be a mensch. You talk about being a mensch. What do you mean, being a mensch? Being a mensch means thinking about the Borei Olam, the creator of the world. There's a higher power that runs this world. It's not just about me, and gratification, It's about a higher power. So you want to go on vacation? Go on vacation. How are you going to spiritualize that vacation? You're going to go. But you have to ask yourself, what am I going to do to make this vacation a ruchnisdike experience? See, and that is the way Torah teaches us through Musar and Chassidus, and each in their own style, to spiritualize every experience. And we saw by the Lubavitch Rabbeim, the Tzaddikim, we saw that this was something that they wanted from all Yidden, not only from the Hasidim, to share this message with the greater world, so that they shouldn't be afraid to leave Meir Sha'arim. Like I told you, that experience I had in the Breslov Yeshiva, Meir Sha'arim, or the Aralach Yeshiva, I think it was Breslov, where they said, we're afraid to go out to the kibbutzim because we will sink. So we stay sheltered in our little enclave, and from the way they were raised and where they're coming from, I understand what they're saying. But there's another way to be raised and to understand that you could manage and do very well. And Baruch Hashem, I could say that their Rebbe today, the told the Saran Rebbe, he's very what they would call progressive compared to previous Rebbe in their dynasty, in their leadership, and so too even in Satmar, you have the difference between the two Satmar Rebbes, Reb Zalman and Reb Aaron, the one in Williamsburg, the one in Monroe. The one in Monroe is much more progressive and has been criticized by the others for being so progressive. And how is he progressive? That he goes out more, and that he meets more people, and maybe some people that they don't want, would shun in the past. So there has been a great improvement in this idea of understanding that if you have proper humanity, proper seichel, there's nothing to be scared of. You're not gonna crumble. And if you are gonna crumble, there's something wrong. There's something very wrong. Now, this does not at all, like I've said many times, justify going to Venice Beach and trying to put on tefillin with people there. There are situations where seichel ahin, I'm saying Yiddish, seichel ahin, seichel aher, have seichel, don't have seichel. This domain is not for the average. There are Jews walking there and haven't put on tefillin, so you need a Shlomo Schwartz, you need a certain Oliver Shalom, you need, there's certain individuals, or Rabbi Schuster, Oliver Shalom used to go to the Kaisel. He was dressed with a hat and jacket, probably in 100 degrees. I saw pictures, and they just came out with a book about him, and so I'm not sure he would be going to Venice Beach to put on tefillin with Yidden, or to invite them for Shabbos. I'm not sure. But so, I'm not saying, for the sake of Seichel, I'm about Seichel, I'm not going to lose myself. And we all know that Yochanan Kohen Gadol, at the age, he lost it. You're not allowed to test yourself. You're not allowed to say, I'm such a strong Jew, I'm going to go into a situation. As Yoni said, the Yetzer Hara is stronger than you. He's stronger than you, trust me. So I don't care if you're 119 years old and 364 days, and you have one more day to live. Be careful. Be careful, because the Yetzer Hara is there, and like the Holy Kutzker said, I'm on my deathbed. I'm geisesing. It's moments before the death. And what am I thinking about? What are they going to say about the Kutzker after he dies? It's like, if you talk about Yetzer Hara, the Yetzer Hara is with us till the last moment. He ain't letting go. He knows he's going down, and he's going down hard, but he's with you. A famous story, I think, with the Barditchever, is it, or another tzaddik, where he didn't come out Simchas Torah, remember? He didn't come out, and the Hasidim said, Rebbe, everyone's waiting in shul, we have to start doing our koffers, it's late. He said, finally came out, and he said, I couldn't have come out. They said, Rebbe, why not? because the Yetzer Hara wanted to dance with me. He wanted to make himself holy and dance with me, and I'm not letting him dance with me. Or Chabad Chassidim would say, when we take the horse from Vitebsk to Lubavitch, or from Smolensk. Smolensk was the station. From Smolensk to Lubavitch. I don't want the horse to say, I have credit because I made the chassid get to Lubavitch. If the horse shares with me the credit going to Lubavitch, it's a problem. That means I'm horsey. You understand? And I want to be in Lubavitch outside of a horse. I don't want to have any connection with a horse when I'm in Lubavitch. The horse is a horse, and it gets credit for doing what it does, taking me to Lubavitch from the train station. Otherwise, I wouldn't get to Lubavitch. So the horse has a lot of value. But don't be with me in Lubavitch. Take me to Lubavitch and go back to the train station and bring another chassid to Lubavitch. There's a very important idea here. Don't let the Yetzer Hara, the Nefesh Abamis, dance with you. Okay? And now you probably are asking, well, it says you're supposed to transform. That's transforming. But the first step is iskafia. Prevent. Stop. Until here you can go, Yetzer Hara, Nefesh Abamis. From here on, don't come along because you're going into a territory that's not yours. Chavra, we ended with a little farbrengen, Baruch Hashem. The Eibusher should help. Sorry, I was a little late today. The Eibusher should help. It's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. It's a gewaltige Shabbos, Menachem Av. And I always say, Menachem Av, the Rebbe says in the Sichos, is that the Father himself comforts us. And why the father and not the mother? Who you would think that a mother is more comforting and more merciful. That's the Chiddush. That's the Vert. That we want Nechama to come from a father who normally doesn't comfort and doesn't hug and doesn't kiss and doesn't embrace. The mother does that, but we want it to come from the father. Imagine you embrace your daughters, right? They don't expect you to do that. You're a man, you're a father. And when they feel that coming from you, in a way, it's much more powerful than coming from a mother who was natural at that. Menachem Av. We're asking Hashem, bring us the Nechama. Bring us the Beis HaMikdash. It's enough already, right? So we're saying to this Shabbos, it's a great Shabbos. You have to all make a farbrengen, be a farbrengen, be a kiddush, say a vart, say l'chaim, smile at another person, and raise the issue that we need Geula. So Geula comes also from the Pnimius. The Rebbe in the first Maamar, he concludes the Maamar that he said when he took the leadership of Lubavitch. At the end he said, we will get out of this Golos through getting out of our own Golos. So you have to, and listen, we finished that in a way. I mean, how can we say we finished it? We're all still have issues. But that's not a reason. Yoni, that's not a reason why we're in Golos. If Hashem is going to wait for us to crawl out from our shtick and stuff, He's going to wait indefinitely. So the Rebbe said in the last 10 years of his life, the Rebbe said clearly that period, that refinement is an individual thing. In other words, that's not holding up Mashiach. Why is that necessary? So you might be wondering, so why is it necessary for me to improve myself? The answer is, when Mashiach comes, I should not have stains on me and look like a slob and be schmutzig and be dirty. The individual. So yes, Mashiach is coming. But how are we as individuals going to stand before Mashiach? So that's why we need avodas habirurim. We have to refine ourselves. We have to make ourselves more mention, nicer, etc. But that's not going to hold up Mashiach. Have a great Shabbos, everyone. We will continue Monday, Mitzvah Hashem. Really enjoy, and we'll see everyone. Zay Gesund. Bye-bye.
Have a good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Thank you.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.